So, hi Sushant, morning.
So,
Today we are planning to talk about a very important aspect, and which is chronic kidney disease. You have seen in the past, so many people because of diabetes, because of kidney failure, so many politicians. So we have lost a lot of lives, particularly to this ailment.
mm,
And a lot of people are under that, what you call cough, यार kidney का problem ना हो जाए, most of the guys who are post 40, post 50, 60, so they are all worried on this particular aspect.
mhm.
So what do you think, why is it increasing globally? I think kidney issue is chronic kidney disease is a big problem. So what do you think about that?
Okay, so essentially, if you see, so around 13.4% of the global population suffer from chronic kidney disease, right? And the interventions which are currently available. So most of the healthcare practitioner would focus either on checking your, creatinine level, which is again ACR, right? Or the global filtration rate, right? And mostly urine
Yeah.
blood test, right? Or they give you BP, blockers, BP inhibitors like EC inhibitors, and ARB, which is essentially a blocker which reduces your blood sugar level, right? Blood pressure level. So essentially, uh, and then at a end stage renal disease, it's stage 5, stage 4, stage 5. It's more of dialysis, and when you're on dialysis, you have to be in dialysis till the time you are alive, right? Uh,
Yeah,
and
that's a
if you
big,
see
big problem.
the cost of managing chronic kidney disease varies from 20,000 to even 40,000 rupees a month, right?
Mm.
Because a dialysis session, which you may go once or twice a week, would cost you
Mm.
2,000 to 4,000 bucks per session, right? So
Yeah,
essentially,
yeah.
uh, again, same thing, we really don't, the current modern healthcare model doesn't have a solution for chronic kidney disease, right? And so we generally we say, okay, you have hypertension, you have obesity, you have type 2 diabetes, you are at a higher risk of developing chronic kidney disease, right? First thing is why, right? So let us first talk about a very important aspect, right? So I'm going to cover three things here today. One is
Okay,
the role of hypertension, because a lot of people think hypertension is only about excess salt consumption. I'm going to
correct.
decode there are multiple factors which contribute to hypertension, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we will talk about obviously the role of microbiome, gut microbiome in development of chronic kidney disease, right? Which is a
Correct.
which we are not able decoding. Third is another thing which nobody have else ever thought globally, right? Except I know Viom would have thought, right? So
Mhm.
so would be the role of microbes living in our saliva, their role in development of
Ah,
chronic kidney disease, right? And
oh,
I'm going to share a lot of things today, which is going to demystify the important aspect of how we develop chronic kidney disease. So again,
very exciting. That would be, something very different and exciting for the audience.
yeah. So
Live on microbiome.
yeah, so let's talk about the hypertension. So we know that salt is a major culprit. It comes from various foods, various packaged foods, supermarkets, whatever we're eating are laden with salt and a lot of preservatives, right? So why salt? Because there are certain bacteria in our gut, certain lactobacillus species which are also responsible for giving you essential short chain fatty acids, bitrate, which actually regulates your BP, which regulates your blood sugar level, which improves your satiety, right? And
Yeah.
salt, these lactobacillus species are actually, salt sensitive species. So high salt
Mm.
actually, kills them or deactivates them, and that's why you have a low bitrate production. That is one of the reason. One of not only reason, that is one of the reason, right? Second reason essentially is the another neurotransmitter which a lot of us don't know, GABA, right? GABA is an
Ah,
anti-depression, anti-anxiety neurotransmitter, right? It also plays a role in reducing your blood pressure, right?
mm.
Or regulating your blood pressure. Again, a role of various lactobacillus and other species in GABA production. The gut bacteria do plays a major role in production of GABA neurotransmitter. Again, gut dysbiosis has a role to play in elevating the blood pressure again, which is linked to hypertension, right? So another aspect is the lipopolysaccharides, again the endotoxin. right? So all these
Mhm.
are the metabolites released by the microbiome as a result of the food we are eating. They are metabolizing the food we are eating, and they are converting them into bioproducts. And again, it is not only about, one bacteria or two bacteria. There are tens of thousands of bacteria, right? And
Correct.
and it doesn't mean that one bacteria is releasing a metabolite. So what happens sometimes, a bacteria metabolize the food, it releases some metabolite which again is consumed by another bacteria, again which metabolizes,
Mhm.
this is something else byproduct which is absorbed in the blood and which impacts your body, right? So essentially, LPS leads to a situation of leaky gut, and it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it start doing neuroinflammation. Again, neuroinflammation is linked to increasing your blood pressure level, right? So
Yeah.
so again, that is one thing. Third classic thing is how heart disease and hypertension is linked because of trimethylene oxide production, TMA production, metabolism of choline. So when we eat a lot of choline, like a lot of dale ho gayi, rajma ho gaya, chicken, a lot of these are saturated fats, foods high in choline. So that is converted into TMAO, which passes through your liver and gets converted into TMAO, which essentially causes increase your blood pressure, as well as it increases
Yeah.
the risk of heart disease, right? So
Correct.
then uh, then another very very important, two most important metabolites are oxalate metabolism, right?
Correct.
So food high in oxalate like date, spinach, almonds, even apple,
Mm.
right? All these are
Mm.
high in oxalate, and oxalate. If your microbiome doesn't have the right set of bacteria to actually neutralize oxalate, it
Mm.
increases the risk of kidney stones, right? And again,
Mm.
that increase you also it leads to impairment of long term control of blood pressure, right? And then when you are on a high protein diet, like tryptophan and tyrosine and phenylalanine, all these are essential amino acids, right? And some specific bacteria convert into harmful things like picresol and indoxyl sulfate, which again impacts your blood pressure level. So these are multiple factors which causes hypertension, right? It is not only about salt. So a protein rich diet can cause, right, a food which you may assume healthy like spinach or dates and almonds may cause it, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe even foods which are high like rajma and chole and all these
Mm.
factors
Mm.
cause it. So again, that is all about hypertension. But what
Mm.
hypertension does is the high BP level actually narrows the blood vessel of kidneys, right? And the blood flow becomes very slow, so it impacts your kidney functioning. And if you're taking a lot of uh, you know uh, protein, so essentially a lot of these endotoxin, like I mentioned about precresol, precresol sulfate, indoxyl sulfate, acetyl phenylglutamine, all these are ammonia, all these are harmful endotoxins released as a metabolism of various different amino acids, right? And because of that, the circulatory level of these toxins and urea and everything, it is very high, right? And when it is high, it further impacts the microbiome activities. They further release these metabolites. Again, it is a vicious cycle, right?
Yeah. So it's a cascading effect, which keeps on and on.
Yeah, so when this is like it is moving around in your bloodstream everywhere, so it leads to oxidative stress, right?
Mm.
It also leads to endothelial dysfunction in kidneys, right? And so a lot of this oxidative stress actually goes to heart, and it start doing cardiovascular diseases happens, right? And that is one of the reason why people who have chronic kidney disease also have a risk of heart attack, right? And
Mm.
that's how hypertension leads to chronic kidney disease. Chronic kidney disease can lead to heart disease, right? And as I described the gut, so there are a lot of these metabolites released by our microbiome again, because of the food we eat, right? So
Yeah.
like precresol I mentioned, indoxyl sulfate I mentioned, again precresol is an end product of metabolism of tyrosine, right? Precresyl sulfate is an product of tyrosine, uh, indoxyl sulfate is an end product of tryptophan. Again, we know tryptophan is good, it is required for brain activity. We eat a lot of tryptophan through eggs, through various other nuts and seeds as well, right? Again, it all depends upon your microbiome, what they are producing. LPS, which I shared, ammonia, glutamine, right? Again,
Yeah.
triphenyl glutamine. These are some of the metabolites, right, which increases the urea concentration, or which leads to release of, or this triggers a lot of inflammatory molecules and pathways like IL-6, IL-8, TNF alpha, and all these. So essentially they they trigger inflammation, right? And then again, this high circulated level. So kidney has a function of filtering it out, right? Provided your kidney is functioning well. But
Yeah.
when you are consuming too much of such foods, because you really don't know, because no blood test tells you the level of peak resol or endoxyl sulfate. The best you can do is CRP. You get a score of C-reactive protein, right? Which
Yeah.
tells you something
That
somewhere.
is the
Yeah.
that is the normal practice, and as you very beautifully explained the whole thing. Unfortunate part is most of the clinicians as of today, nobody thinks like that. Nobody thinks about the root cause, which you are trying to explain it here. So I wish people understand this better on the molecular level, on the toxin level, and how the whole functioning happens, how the microbiome
Yeah.
has impact on the overall thing.
Yeah.
So I have another question, uh, so everybody talks about dialysis, so what do you think dialysis really helps, eventually, that is the only thing which is left after a while. But what is your thought process on this whole dialysis thing? And
So I think first thing is, uh, we should start asking the right questions when it comes to, so when you are going for urine test or blood test where it shows your creatinine level or your GFR levels, or your urea levels, right? If you feel something bad, right?
Mhm.
Or you have a lot of abdominal pain or constipation, right? So these are the
Yeah,
signals your body is giving you. So probably, what we do is we generally, go for drugs, right? Like as I mentioned about the inhibitors and blockers, right? Or BP blockers,
yeah.
right? So they
Mhm.
delay your chronic failure for some time, for some years, right? But it generally happens. So the thing is, first of all, we should understand if we are moving, first of all, whether we are moving towards a chronic kidney condition or not, right? Chronic kidney disease condition or not. If we are, what is causing it, right?
Mhm.
So if we answer these questions and understand our biology very well, right, at a molecular
Mhm.
level, as you rightly said, right? So essentially, these tests doesn't tell anything about why you have a chronic kidney disease or why your kidney is not functioning well, right? So
Correct.
if we address these root causes, we identify the root cause, probably we even don't need a dialysis, right?
Yeah,
Now we've seen, people are coming up. There's a startup which is doing dialysis at lower cost. There is a startup which is tracking your water levels, your weight, your symptoms, your food, your sleep, a lot of these things. But the problem is, this is just managing your disease, right? So
yeah,
there are multiple reasons you have chronic kidney disease, as I explained, right? So again, it's so gut kidney axis is a vicious cycle, right? So gut
Mm.
dysbiosis leads to production of a lot of urea and toxin, right? Which over a period of time your kidney become inefficient to actually filter it out, and then the circulatory
Oh,
level
yeah,
increase. And if you don't know, you're having oxalate and uric acid issues because you really don't know whether your body is able to neutralize oxalate. So keep on having dates, because dates is an alternative for sugar, and it's a healthy, assumed to be healthy option. Or almonds, we say, because it's a healthy fat. Or spinach, because it is high in vitamin B12, vitamin D, iron. So we keep on eating all these things. And even apple a day says, doctor say apple a
yeah,
day keeps doctor away, so these all things we really need to understand, not food, but what molecules are being metabolized inside the body, right? uh,
yeah,
so dialysis is something which is an end result, and it is because of our own ignorance, or whether we are not asking the right questions. Probably doctors really don't know why you have a kidney issue, right? They
uh,
they just ask you to go for a blood test. Okay, go for this blood test, and we'll.
everything is just symptom based, when it happens, the doctor, and then he will give you all the medicines and all, so the normal protocol. But
Yeah.
what we are talking about is, working scientifically and understand the root cause, probably way earlier than, the last stage,
Yes.
where people.
So I feel the way how earlier the plasma level investigation took a lead, where every lab was saying, let's spend $2,000, I'll get your, you know, uh, 6 monthly health checkup done, right? So that more quicker we start adopting the microbiome as an, understanding the microbiome as a solution to our health worries, the cost would start going down and the acceptability and the adaptability would increase more, right? The point
Mm,
is, these are the bacterias which came before us in this life, right? And
correct,
they are the one who perform various critical biological functions. They are transforming our approach towards diet, hygiene, nutrition, environment, everything, right? And we really
correct.
need to understand. So it's so even there's only so what currently is happening is we are marrying every drug with symptoms. So you have one symptom, you have one drug, you have 50 symptoms and 50 drugs, right? Only
Yeah.
thing, you need only one drug, which is for your body, which is the nutrition, which is married to your biology. And no nutritionist can, based on your
And
blood work,
some
can tell you.
Yeah, and somewhere I may be wrong also. I come from a doctor's family, but I still advise people, to have medicine, least possible medicine, because the way you are saying that, 50 symptoms and 50, different medicines being given. So that also, all those chemicals and molecules are again loading your liver and kidney and the whole gut
Yeah,
axis. So
yeah.
it's as you correctly said, that this is a vicious cycle, and once you start all this, there is no end to it. So better approach would be to look at microbiome at the right time, understand, what is happening on the metabolic level, and based on that we take timely decisions, regarding how to
I'll tell you
prevent.
another common sense thing which we all miss out, right? So
Yeah.
people who are suffering from chronic kidney disease are prescribed a lot of supplements like B vitamins,
uh,
calcium, okay, so
uh,
vitamin C, iron. So who provides you vitamin B vitamins? It's your microbiome. Microbiome directly provides you by folate, pentothenic acid, vitamin B12, cobalamin. So if you have,
yeah.
you're taking supplements, right? It means your microbiome is not working to help you restore your kidney function, right? So
Yeah.
essentially
Yeah.
that is again a trigger point. So if you are taking, again, I discussed this thing on the vitamin B12, that what we generally take supplement is cyanocobalamin, right? Which is
Yeah.
an
Sign up.
form of
Yeah.
vitamin B12. What we need is methylcobalamin, right?
Yeah.
Which is again is an active form, and that's what is converted by your microbiome, right?
Hmm.
For instance, I'll just sharing for the purpose of it, right? So if you have vitamin B12 deficiency, right? uh
Hmm.
Lactobacillus reuteri, right?
Hmm.
It's the bacteria which
Hmm.
convert your cyanocobalamin into methylcobalamin, right? So that probiotic can help. Okay.
Yeah. Correct.
Right.
Hmm.
So that is, so it depends upon your gut microbiome, right? What metabolites are being released, how it is absorbed in your blood, and how it is impacting your kidney functioning, your liver functioning, your heart functioning. you know Even what happens is, if you have type 2 diabetes, what it does is, it type 2 diabetes situation destroys your kidneys, blood vessels, and nephrons. Again, nephrons are filters in the kidneys, right? So essentially, it
Correct.
destroys, and then
Hmm.
your kidney function doesn't work. So again, type 2
Hmm.
diabetes, I'll not get into too much, because we discussed during our last various calls also that, type 2
Yeah.
diabetes root cause is again LPS, and a lot of these metabolites is via microbiome, right?
Correct.
So first thing is, obviously, we have to focus on the right nutrition, which is to be guided by your microbiome, right? So
Hmm.
hypertension is, you know, your drugs are not going to cure your hypertension, it is not always salt, right? Salt is one of the reasons why you have increased BP, right? Increased blood pressure. And, I know my father have been taking BP for a while, so I know
Yeah.
that even metformin and all these interfere with your nutrient and vitamin absorption, right? Because
Yeah.
the inflammation doesn't stop, right? So again, these are few things. Another important aspect which I wanted to touch, and I wanted to even share that what we are doing right here on this.
Yeah.
If you see, you know, uh, the second largest colonization of bacteria inside our
Mm.
body is
Mm.
mouth, is saliva
Ah.
after gut.
Oh.
There would be around 500 different 700 bacteria, which are different species and strain levels. So there are, a lot of billions of these bacteria living in mouth, and
Mm.
they harbor in your mouth. And every day, we have around 1.5 liter of saliva every day, right? Which
Mm.
moves from mouth towards stomach and large intestine, right? And the food and everything moves, and again bacteria also moves, right? So there was a research
Yeah.
which found that 59% of the oral microbiome, right, are
Ah.
found in the gut, right? For
So this is something, which people may have not ever thought, very interesting information you have given. 1.5 liter
Hmm,
saliva, going to
hmm.
uh, gut every day, and 59% of microbiome is actually shared. So wonderful information. Yeah.
And another point here is, right. So there's no established link. I don't see a research, but if we have acid reflux and we are taking a lot of PPIs like Nexium, right? It
Mm.
vanishes your stomach acid. Now, when it vanishes, there's a complete gates. It's like opening of gates for all the
Mm.
bacteria to move to your large intestine, right? So
Large.
so what we have found is like bacteria like Streptococcus,
Mm.
Klebsiella, which is again our proteobacteria, Acetonomyces, right? Ceterobacter, all these bacteria are there which move from oral you know uh, to the gut. And a lot of these so what happens is this, these microbes have a role to play in your oral, because they transport the minerals from saliva to teeth for remineralization, right? They also
Mm.
transport the molecular oxygen to the gums and soft tissues, right? And also they kill the free radicals. So these are three basic essential functions of the oral microbiome, right? But if you have, so again it is all depending upon the pH level of the oral microbiome, right?
Oral microbiome.
So,
Yeah.
so as everywhere, we need to have a mildly acidic pH level, which is between 6.5 to 7, right? And
Mm.
what happens is, if so there's certain this bacteria like Klebsiella, which is again and proteobacteria, which triggers lipopolysaccharides production, right? Which again,
Mm.
which this standard pathway which is called as nuclear transcription factor, right?
Yeah.
Transcription factor, right? Which triggers a lot of these IL-6, IL-8, and TNF-alpha, right? That triggers inflammation, and this inflammation increases the urea concentration in the saliva, right?
Mm.
Change your
Mm.
pH level, and when the pH level becomes alkaline, it is a breeding ground for pathogens. Right?
Mm. Yeah.
So these
Yeah.
these pathogens, this inflammation actually leads to high urea, and we know urea ammonia is one of the things which leads to kidney damage, right? So that's how
Yeah.
one of the reason why how oral microbiome actually
Mm.
triggers the kidney disease, right? Second aspect is, this a lot of these amino acids like L-arginine and tryptophan, right? So again,
Mm.
L-arginine is converted into what we call is asymmetric dimethyl arginine, which is a you know
Correct.
right.
Yeah.
So ADMA is something which is released by your microbiome when they metabolize arginine, and this actually inhibits your nitric oxide, right? Which
Mm.
leads to oxidative stress, and which impacts the endothelial dysfunction, which leads to endothelial dysfunction, which again kidney fibrosis and endothelial dysfunction. And that's how we have it impacts your, it leads to kidney injury, it impacts your kidney functioning, right? So these are few of the pathways which we see from a oral microbiome perspective also, right? So we know a lot of these bacteria from air, from food enters into our body, right? uh,
Yeah.
they live in our saliva, they do function, right? So these metabolites which they produce, so oral microbiome predigests the food, they produce certain metabolites. These metabolites, it's like a 100-meter race. They run faster than the food we are eating, right? So
Yeah.
they signal the gut microbiome, they signal the various aspects of our body that, okay, for instance, they signal pancreas, oh, I've eaten something sweet, like I've eaten chocolate. So essentially, just start releasing insulin, right? So
Hmm.
these are the kind of signaling which happens inside the body, right? So essentially,
That's beautiful.
these are the things we need to understand. So that's why, so we are now, I think we discussed this earlier also, sir, that we are now uh, launching our oral microbiome very soon. So we will
Yeah.
be uh, even decoding the functional activity of the microbes living in a saliva. We are already doing for gut, we are already doing for vagina, right? So the another end which is left is again human cells, right?
Yeah.
Which we would be, again, it will take time, but we will be entering to that as well, right? So essentially now you can get an entire view of your body at a molecular level, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Molecular level, microbial level, and it's really amazing, the kind of work which Gene Fertiletics is doing, the kind of hours, you are spending in terms of going through the research articles, looking at all the chemicals, molecules, biomolecules, and how they are interacting.
Yeah.
So it's really very, very helpful for the audience. I believe, people who start listening to these talks and start addressing their body in a more scientific way
Mm.
can prevent a lot of inflammatory or chronic disease stuff, including chronic kidney failure disease, which is growing at a very big rate globally as well as in India. Uh, so I would say, excellent work we are doing, and launching saliva microbiome will be another big step forward.
Yeah.
Uh, so let's keep it up, and it's a science which which is very thrilling, very exciting, and very helpful for the mankind.
Yeah.
So
So
any other point you would like to talk about, Sushant, in this
here
context?
I want to add couple of things for everyone whoever is listening, whether they are patients suffering from various chronic health conditions, or even one of the most important aspect of our healthcare system right now is the uh, investors funds, right?
Yeah.
So if you folks think, because I've seen over last few years we have seen a lot of investment in health tech companies, and everyone is doing a great job. It is not someone is doing good or bad, or we all are all hands to even support everyone in the startup ecosystem here, right? But point here is those all solutions are again focused on, because you are working in tandem with the healthcare system, which is not wrong, but you're not
Hmm.
trying to fill up a gap which is about the unique biology, which a lot of startups are not addressing, right? Or even addressing partially, or maybe
Hmm.
there is again a solution of fat diets, or some doctor prescription, or maybe some supplements, right? So for investor it is really important to understand this, because these all are facts, right?
Hmm.
Again, that we really need to understand, that we really need to decode our biology at a molecular level. Earlier, 5 years back, we never have this opportunity, because the cost of testing or cost of sequencing was pretty high. But still, it is in India, still it is a bit high, but again, it is better than 5 years back, right? And
Yeah.
the more we actually, you guys are a front runner in supporting startups like us, like startup like healthcare startups, to actually help people. So you, the guys, more you adopt this technology, and more you start looking at startups, biotech startups, who are actually working and solving these problems, right? So the better it will be for the entire humanity, right? For the entire
Yep.
mankind. And because we are faced with a lot of issues, see, we have so many doctors and everywhere, but the rate of obesity is going up, the rate of diabetes is going up, the
Yeah.
rate of cancer, if you, I'll just give you an example. So the Max hospital in Patpaganj, you won't believe,
Mhm.
70% of the customers are cancer patients there.
Yeah. That's alarming rate. I mean, you talk about Max, I go to all the big hospitals almost every other day, All India Institute of Medical Science or, Medicity, and, bade bade, problem is either cancer, diabetes,
Hmm.
chronic kidney disease, liver transplants, and almost everything is connected to the work which we are doing. And, coming back to the point which you said on the investors, I'm sure investors are going to realize, because so far investors have been busy, doing uh, the superficial thing, कि खाना पहुंचा दो through Swiggy and Zomato, ये कपड़े पहुंचा दो, but eventually health पहुंचानी है, and which is the biggest beneficiary for the mankind. So I'm sure investors are also going to understand this, and I'm sure things will happen.
And I've
Now
seen,
let's
I'll
takes
share,
the lead.
I'll share a
That will
couple
make
of
more
things.
money, in terms of
Yeah. So I'll share a couple of things there. So a lot of customers, some of them, oh, your price is somewhat like 4 to 5,000 rupees a month, because our subscription is 6 month subscription. We charge varying from 27,000, 35,000. So if you analyze, because the thing is, you analyze, first thing, you analyze the cost of managing your disease. You're spending 10 to 12,000 rupees a month, right? It means if you're going to survive for next 30, 40 years, right, you're going to spend
Hmm.
about 40, 50 lakhs. First thing. Second thing is, if you work out our price, what we charge is just 150 rupees a day, which is less than a
Yeah.
coffee you would spend on a Starbucks on a cafe coffee day, right? So,
Absolutely.
so when you're
Absolutely.
spending money, analyze how much you're spending on your health, right? Because
Yeah.
that's how,
You
if
said you said you said 40, 50 lakhs,
Mhm.
some of the posh hospitals and colonies and people in that lies probably over 10, 20, 30 years, they spend crores.
Mhm.
It's better to spend money proactively on, looking at the root cause, way earlier than, keep spending
Because,
for rest of
yeah, whenever I come to Delhi, so I see, if you go to a Starbucks, easily, if it's a family of three people, the minimum bill is 800,000 bucks, right? Minimum, and that's,
yeah,
and if
yeah,
you go for two times a month, you spend 2,000 bucks, right? And
yeah,
it turns out to what, 600, 700 rupees per person, right? So that is,
true.
again, if you are spending something on your health where you can actually, save a lot of money. That's what I'm telling. So if you sign up for our service, again, I'm not promoting, but I'm just giving in perspective, because a lot of people see from a pricing point, oh, it is very costly, or oh, it is, I can pay 2,000 bucks to some health tech startup which will give me some diet, right? How do you know which diet is working for you, right? Probably you are.
But what people need to understand is good science is little bit,
Yeah,
capital intensive in the beginning,
yeah.
but it is very, very cost effective in the long run. Plus, you have a much better health, you prevent a lot of diseases which come and hit you later on.
So because if you
So I
see,
don't think it's expensive from that angle.
yeah, so I've seen one of my very close relative. He had a liver issue. He had a liver transplant. So doctor told a cost of 25 lakh rupees, right? And
Mm,
I'm not
mm,
naming the hospital, but but that was the cost. And if someone doesn't have it, the doctor will say, okay, you go home. We can't help, right? So the point is,
mm,
that's the amount of money you will spend without knowing, what is happening inside your body. Even when you're solving it, it is not going to solve. It is just going to,
mm,
defer your disease. And that's how a lot of doctors do in case of chronic kidney disease. Also, you defer your disease, right? You give your
mm.
BP blockers. You go for dialysis. Okay, you are coming for dialysis every 2 week, 2 times a week. So you're going to stay alive, right? 50% of the chances till the time you are going for dialysis, right?
Yeah, true. So I think all in all, very powerful talk on chronic kidney disease today, and I'm sure the audience who are watching us. I've seen that views are also going up slowly. People have started understanding the role of microbiome, and
Mm.
uh, how do we prevent chronic inflammations and diseases.
Yeah.
So this is going to be really helpful,
Mm.
and let us keep doing this quality work. Let us keep spending hours and hours, every week, which you are doing, going through all the literature, research paper, patents, and stuff.
Sure.
Incredible work. I'm sure, people are going to like this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Thank you. Look forward to the next talk, Sushant.
Bye bye, sir.